back. This is SY The Talk Podcast. I'm here joined by two amazing friends. We have Angelina. Angelina, say what's up to the people.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
And we have Nichole.
What's up?
All right. What's up? All right. Now we're here, guys. I'm so excited to be able to talk to you guys because you guys are two of the people that have been in ministry for like, when I say in ministry, I mean in like literally the ministry since you guys were babies. But we'll get more into that. Angelina, talk to me. Okay, the people don't know you. Talk to me about your background, where you come from, and I want to start it off like that, man. Talk to me. What age did you come? What age did you come to Christ and say, you know what, Father, I surrender to you, and I want to be saved.
Yeah. Right?
Because a lot of people say, yeah, 2 years old, 1 year old. Nah, come on. When did you say, Father, you know what, I surrender? Like that worship song.
Yeah.
I surrender. Like that. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Well, for most of you that don't know me, actually, I did grow up in the church at a very, very young age, literally in the womb. So my parents were already here. They're already established in church. So through my parents, obviously, I grew up in a Christian household and everything. So I already knew about Christ. I had, the basics. As a little girl, I'd be in church. I do, either redoma or, BMCJ and, all these things and other activities that we have. And, I based, I guess you say, my faith through my parents just because, I feel like that's what people normally
By
tend
default.
to do. Yeah, but it's like, hey, my household is Christian, so I'm Christian. And that's how I guess I did the same thing. So growing up, I guess you can say I grew up in the church. People already knew me, Gus's daughter, and it was the perfect image, I guess you can say, growing up. So, later on throughout life, I didn't like that. So I tend to go my own way. So I thought I was saved because of my parents, but in reality everybody has their own race. So I tend to go out through my own race when I got older. So maybe about 3 years ago is when I settled, you know what, I am saved not through my parents, but through me in Christ. So that's basically.
That's amazing. And you are, how old are you?
I'm 17.
You're 17, so 14.
Yeah.
14 years old, which is crazy because you would think, I grew up with Christian parents, I'm not, like you said, and I assume that all the time when I see people. But anyway, we're going to get into that. Nichole, talk to me. What age did you decide to get saved? How long have you been going to church? Talk to me for the people that don't know you, which, some people might not know you that are listening to this podcast. So talk to me.
Okay. Well, I was basically raised in church too. Not this one. I was born into Christ, at another church, and then that church got shut down. I don't know what it was, but it
For
got
real?
Yeah, it was weird.
Was it in Florida?
Yeah, it was in Florida,
All
but
right.
it just got shut down, I guess. And then through a mutual friend, we got invited to Segadores, and I was 4 turning 5.
Okay.
So I've been here about since I was 5.
Okay.
And receiving Christ, I would say it was probably VCJ when I was 13.
Hey,
so
shout out VCJ,
yo,
man. Hey,
facts.
wait, it's not called VCJ anymore, I heard.
No,
it's
no.
Sega Kids Camp.
Sega Kids Camp.
Get it
Okay,
right
I'm sorry.
this
All right,
summer.
let's okay.
This summer.
Okay.
Sponsored.
So yeah, I received God in that camp, and yeah, it was basically I had a sibling, so I was always hyped for being a leader and stuff like that, getting to know Christ. But literally it was at 13, I can say that I got serious in Christ, and I started applying that life.
The lifestyle.
The lifestyle, yeah.
Which is the lifestyle which is crazy because the same God that was moving at 13 is still moving today. Same God that's been moving since you've been in the womb, and obviously since you were raised up is still moving today, which is amazing. And the reason why I love your stories is because a lot of people, they have this misconception, or they might think that, hey, people that grow up in church, they have it easy. Oh, you've been in church your whole life. What do you know about the world, And I've even had that, and I gave my life to Christ at 16. So before 16, I didn't know who Jesus was. You get me? 15 going on 16, around that age. And to be honest with you, I think that talks like these are going to be so amazing, or are going to be an instrument for people that have grown up in church and have honestly been teased. I mean, I'm sure that you guys have been at one point of your life, people have told you, oh, what do you know about life? You've grown up in church, right? Which I want to get into that, right? I want to kind of hear you guys a little bit about how we can encourage each other, because I think that's the best thing that we can do as Christians is encourage each other. How can you encourage somebody, and I'll start with you, Angelina, how can you encourage somebody that maybe is going through a situation or has been raised up in the church, and they're like, you know what, like I don't feel like I have my own identity, like what you were saying. Like I feel like because of my parents or because I was raised in this church, I'm saved through that. So maybe talk to me a little bit about the situation, or what triggered you to say, you know what, I need to wake up and I need to do it for my own.
Personally, for me, through that time of, you know, having my identity through my parents, I was just going through a rough time, and it was till like I literally was like, I can't do it on my own anymore. Like I literally like can't do this. Like life is just hitting me left and right, and I just don't have that strength anymore. And I just had to surrender my life to Christ, and it's just that strength that Christ gives you through that surrender and through that, I guess you can say, application of like doing all these things that, you know, being a Christian, you know, having the faith, reading the word, like even though I guess that's like so like basic, everybody says, but in reality is like it does give you strength. It does keep you move forward. Like it does help you from even falling off of the edge, because that was where I was. And like for an example for me, and this was really funny now I think about it, in my exodus, I was going to the bus, and I don't want to spoil too much, but like there's this thing where like you have to like fill out this form. It's like this whole thing. And pretty much someone behind me literally was like, what does she know? I'm pretty sure she didn't do anything on that list. And little did she know, like I checked back most of the things. I was like, okay, like just because I grew up in church, like doesn't mean like I don't know what the world is. Like I grew up in church, but doesn't mean I go to a public school, or like doesn't mean like I don't know the outside world. Like I do, and I still do struggle. And being in a Christian household, it's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, and like the temptation is like more like,
it's
you
crazy.
know,
It's crazy how like you were saying, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's crazy like when somebody starts to go to church, or somebody thinks about somebody that goes to church, you only talk about the things you can't do, right? Like the things that you can do and the things that you're able to do are never really highlighted. So Nichole, just give me a little bit about that as well. Just like what Angelina was saying, what are maybe some tactics that you had to do in order for you to say, you know what, BCJ, it's time. Like, hey, you know what? Like, because I'll tell you, and before, if you want, before you go, I'll tell you one of my main things, and the reason why I came to Christ is because I wanted identity. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what God had for me. I legit was this 15-year-old going on 16. Everybody knew what they wanted as a career. Everybody knew what they were as personality-wise. Everybody kind of had life figured out in a way at a young age. You get me? I didn't even know, like, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know who I was. It was like this thing, like this emptiness that you find yourself being like transparent and everybody's full of color. And I decided at that age to say, obviously I listened to a word from Pastor, and Pastor was talking about how everybody has a calling. And I'm like, man, that calling sounds like a purpose. Man, I wonder what my purpose is. And, you know, not in a like religious way. I just listened to this man speak. And through that word, it will kind of like trigger me to say, man, if this God that he's speaking about is real, then I must have a calling in my life. And I want that calling because I don't know what it is. And I promise you, as soon as I decided to do that, yeah, I struggled like everybody does. But I did walk around with this confidence saying, hey, I know that I have a purpose because there's this guy or this thing or whatever, however you want to identify God, that has a plan for me. So Nichole, talk to me a little bit about something that triggered you, that made you say, you know what, hey, I want to give my life to Christ, you know?
Well, when I was younger, like, my parents, like, divorced, you get me? And that's not really something that, like, everybody likes to go through. Nobody likes to go through that. And it's, like, it's a really, like, hard thing to have to, like, you know, go through in your life. And I personally, at church, I was known as, like, the happy girl. She was always happy, you get me? Like, I would dance, I would do plays all the time, and I would be happy. But, like, behind closed doors, I would deal with depression, you know, sadness that my parents were split up, that my dad left me, you know, that left my siblings and my mom. And I would have to deal with that by myself. And a lot of times, like, I actually had, like, thoughts of, like, suicide, you know, just thoughts of, like, not wanting to be here because I felt alone. Like, yeah, I had a father, you know, that was Christ, but I wanted that man in my life. I wanted, like, my dad to be in my life. And I didn't really get that. So I had to deal a lot with that by myself, and like Angelina said, like you get tired of those things. Like you start to feel weak, and like you don't want to do it on your own. And that's literally where I was. Like I was just done. Like I didn't want to do life anymore, and I just decided, I was like, you know what? Like no, I need God to like control my life. I need Him to steer the wheel for my life. And yeah, that's basically where I decided, you know, to give up my life to Christ.
And that's crazy that we talk about it, because there's times that we haven't talked about this.
Yeah.
You get me? Like in such a long time that we're like, wow, this put things in perspective. And it's crazy because anybody listening to this podcast right now would have never expected Nichole to share that, because it's like, what? For real?
Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, there might be somebody that's listening to you right now that might be dealing with that issue. You get me?
Yeah.
And it's different because, again, you know, whenever you're in a household that, like you said, that you're Christian, and people kind of think that you have it all for you, but in reality, it's like, no, this is not how it works. Like, I need to find my own walk with God. And talking about that, which I think deals a lot with your walk with God, and deals a lot with, you know, growing up in church, is the people you surround yourself around with, right?
Yeah.
I know you guys have had your fair share of friends, or if they're here, if they're still not here, and I don't say that like they're gone, like they disappeared, but, you know, we go through growing up in church, and just being in church, and being in, what's the quote-unquote word, being in community, right? Or being with people that you live your life. There's people here that I see more than my own family that, you know, you see at your church that you're always serving with, no matter what church you go to. And I kind of want to touch on that topic, because I think that friendships and people that you surround yourself around with play a huge role, right? And I know that you two girls can definitely speak about it, because I feel like obviously friendships with guys are a little bit more different than girls, right? And I don't think like that's I don't think that's spoken about a lot, because guys, like we could just play basketball, chest bump, and call it a day, right? I know that sounds very like that's all guys do. Amadi's looking at me like, no, that's not what all guys do. But like guys' friendships, I think are a little bit more different. I think I've touched about it here on the podcast, but I've never had really a perspective on girl friendships, because again, we're in a society that, yes, although we're Christian, we're in a social media era. We're in this time in our lives that we're growing up, and the people that are around us play a huge role. So I want to talk about good friendships. You get me? I don't want to specifically start off talking about toxic relationships, which we'll get into that, or friendships. But I want to talk about good friendships. Like, how do you classify a good friend, especially a friend that will help you, obviously, in your walk with God?
Honestly, it's someone that like encourages you, and it's someone you have accountable for. And I'm gonna like put this straight out there, and I'm gonna tell, like, I have my group of girls at group, and I always tell them, like, guys, like, all the friendships that you make, like, they're not sometimes our friendships like we say, like, oh, the people in school, but no, like they're also in church too. Like, you have to be very wise in the people that you surround yourself with, because with that, like, they can either uplift you or they could like discourage you. So, you know, I think having a good counsel, and it does say that in Proverbs, is somewhere, you know, surround yourself with good counsel. And I think that's something very important to have, because when you have someone to be accountable for, or for them to be accountable like with you, like, you know, they help you with your walk with Christ, or they text you, hey, like, you know, did you do your devotion? Or like, hey, like, you know, you want to come to like this preaching, or like do all these things. And it's like, it's more of an upliftment than, you know, just going down and going back, because there can be people that, you know, claim like they're Christian, but yet, you know, their spirit isn't right,
which is completely, again, not normal, but it's completely understandable, because I can call myself today that I know it sounds random, but I could say that I'm something that I'm not, you know. It's that simple. But again, I want to talk about that, because friendships are such a huge vehicle to get where you want to get. And like you were saying, a counselor, somebody that is accountable for, or that's accountable for you, like, that's very important. But Nichole, talk to me a little bit more about that.
I would say also you have to be sure of who you are too, because if you have a friend that like brings you down, like how Angelina was saying, then that can risk everything. Like, I know I had a friendship where at first the friendship started with me encouraging her and me trying to bring her to Christ and her getting involved, but then she kind of like passed me, you get me? She kind of started encouraging me to do bad things. So I got into that, and like I can say, like, it's a really sucky, you know, feeling, because you don't want to feel like, oh, like I was helping this girl out, you get me? I was influencing her to do the right thing, and some way somehow she got the hold of me.
Yeah.
You get me? So I think it's like you have to be really like sure of who you are, and make sure you surround yourself, especially if you're really in that stage that you don't know who you are. Make sure you surround yourself with people that know who they are.
Wow.
Because if you don't have that person that knows who they are, then that most likely can happen to you.
And it's, we hear it all the time, right? Like we hear it in the sermons or in the preachings that it's easier to pick somebody. I mean, that it's easier to bring somebody down than to lift somebody up. And it's so true. And identity plays a huge role when picking your friends, because you have to know who you are, like who you are in Christ, before you go ahead and try to even make a friendship with somebody. Because look, let's be honest, even though, and I think that's another misconception that we can speak about as well. A lot of times that we believe because we are believers, or because, you know, we are saved, we can only have friends that are saved. And that's specifically not how it works, because if that's the point, who are we going out to preach to?
Exactly.
Who are we going out to reach out to if we're only like making a clique of our friends that are Christian? No, it will never work. I have friends that are not specifically saved, or that don't know about Jesus or have something, you know, against Jesus, or, you know, whatever the case may be, is a one-by-one case, but I still remain friends with them. You get me? Because I do believe that I could be a good influence in them. You get me? Because I know who I am in Christ. I know how great, it's like, come on, like if you know how great God is, you're just like, okay, you're going to be around me. You're going to kind of see it. But I like to be the type of person, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this. I like to be the person that preaches through their lifestyle more than with their words.
Yeah,
you get me? Like, I want you to know that Jesus is real through my moves. You get me? I don't really specifically need to walk around with a billboard. Hey, I believe in Jesus. So talk to me a little bit, Angelina, about being friends with people that might not be Christian.
Well, like he said, which was, you know, I guess you can say being a good testimony to others, because people, you know, they'll reflect on the way you act and the way you are. And when people see that transition in your life from like being all the way down, you know, having depression or having what you're going through, to, you know, having God encourage you and having the strength to move forward, like people do see that. Like people will see that and they reflect that in your life. And I think a major key in that is to reach towards people, is also to be a good testimony, because, you know, I can't be here and, you know, do all these things and they're like, oh, you're Christian? Like, you know, when you walk into the room, and I always say this like to people and to my girls, when you always walk into the room, you would like to, like, you want people to know, like, wow, like she's a Christian, like, you know, she has the right testimony. Like, I see that her life has changed through Christ, and, you know, maybe I want the same thing. So I always think, you know, to have that friendship is also to share the love of Christ through you to them. And, you know, it might be hard at times, but, you know, God will give you that strength and, you know, that wisdom to keep going, because wisdom is a very major key when it comes
you dropping keys.
Yeah, like,
no,
it comes,
It's true, because like what you were saying, okay, so I have to be a good testimony, and I have to be able to be wise, but then we have to also remember, like, yo, we're human beings. Like, hey, we get mad, we get tired, we get sleepy, we get hungry, just like everybody else.
It'd be hard.
But what makes us different? What makes us different is, like what you're saying, our identity. So again, I think that this kind of rule, this kind of invisible rule of, oh no, you can only be friends with people that go to church. Hey, listen, it's awesome if all your friends go to church, but who are you reaching out to? Like, who are you really preaching to? And I especially in school. Come on, guys. I graduated. I was going to show my age. I graduated 2009, guys. I graduated 10 years ago. My reunion is in a couple of months, right? So, but anyways, the reason why I'm saying that is because, especially when I was in school, I was really challenged, man, because I was friends with people in school that I've known my whole life since, you know, these kids that I've known since middle school. Now that I'm different, I didn't have to walk around with a shirt that said I'm a Christian. They would see I wouldn't curse anymore. Which is a big thing nowadays, not cursing, because everybody wants to curse, right? They would see the way that I would carry myself whenever it was an altercation. Like, if it was somebody that was irritating me or something, like, oh, you're not cursing them out, you're not about to fight them, especially in the school that I went to. Shout out to Piper High, if anybody's from Piper High, whatever. But yeah, like, my personality kind of showed people like that I'm different. Of course, all my friends were not saved, but hey, they were coming to my youth group, which, of course, I know that you attend the youth group as well. Probably run your own youth group, correct? Yes. Nichole as well. Actually has youth group with my wife. Shout out to Jane. But yes, I think that's a great thing, guys. And now that we're talking about good friendships, talk to me. I want to go a little bit deeper about toxic friendships, right? Because it's great to talk about the good friends. Oh, the good friends are great. Oh my God, it's so awesome that my friend told me to read my devotion, or it's so awesome I'm going to group with my friend. But if we're being real here, life is not always going to be like this Hallmark movie, right? There's going to be friends that you're going to have to let go. There's going to be some friends that, unfortunately, you want to do right, they might not want to do right, and you're gonna have to be like, I gotta cut you off, right?
Yeah.
So, Nichole, talk to me about that. Have you ever encountered or have you faced a situation in your life that maybe you've had to say, hey, listen, man, got love for you, but I love myself a little bit more than you. Like, I got to make sure I'm good, right? Talk to me about that.
Of course. I feel, actually, I did go through it. Like, my best friend, actually, since
those are the tough ones.
Yeah,
those
I know.
are definitely
Literally.
the tough ones.
I think we started being best friends since, like, 6th grade. So that was really hard. But it was, like I said, like I started off, you know, influencing her, you know, being her, you know, person to go to. Like, it was something like she'll call me at midnight talking about, oh, like, can you pray with me? You get me? Like, she knew that I was the right influence. You get me? She knew that I was in church, God, this and that, and I would correct her in all the ways I could.
Of course.
You get me? I would tell her, you know, hey, you shouldn't really do that. You get me? You know what's right and wrong. And it was like a constant thing of me doing it. She came to church for like a couple of times, and to group, and she was, you know, starting to get involved, and she knew already the saying, oh, you know what's good and what's wrong. You know, you can like separate the two.
Okay.
So then once that started happening, I guess like I just got not tired, but like, how do I say it? Like frustrated at the fact that like I would always have to, you know, go out of my way to like, you know, try to like bring myself down along with trying to get her up. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, yeah,
like
I understand you completely.
Yeah.
She's drinking, I'm gonna have to drink too.
Exactly. You get me? Like I would always have to do that. You get me? And I was just, you know, at that point I was like, look, now that you know what's good and bad, I don't know what to tell you. Exactly.
Yeah,
like she would still call me like, oh, can you help me? I'm like, yes, of course. Like I'll pray with you.
Yeah.
And then the next day she would do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I just got to a point I was like, look, I love you, but I can't keep doing this. Like, you get me? Like, I'm literally going down with you, and I'm supposed to be bringing you up with me, but you're not, like, you know, helping me do that too. Yeah. You get me? So I went through that, like, a lot, and it was hard. So, but, you know, God gives you that strength, and you have to let go.
Keep going.
Again, it's like you were saying, it's cliche. It's said so much in the church. God is going to give you strength. But in reality, that's the only words you can find. Yeah. Like, God is going to have to give you the strength. It's like you're going to have to inhale. All right, I'm going to do this. Okay, God, back me up on whatever I'm going to do, right? I think that's so key. Like you were saying, that's so key for the person that's listening to us or for anybody. Like, if you're trying to live life the right way, you're going to have to find that strength because, again, if it's from you, it's like, but it's cringy. Oh, but I don't want to face this person. But you have to do it. So, Angelina, talk to me a little bit more about that as well. Just like what Nichole was talking about. Have you maybe faced a situation that you've had to let somebody, you know, go, unfortunately?
Unfortunately, I've had to. I guess you can say in both aspects, as in, like, even, you know, the people that are in church or even the people that are, you know, outside of church. For people outside of church, I had a really close best friend, like, very, very close, and it hurt my heart. And, you know, I saw her going down a wrong path, and like she was doing, like, I tried my best, and, you know, but there's only so much you can do. So it's always, like, really, like, sad, and, like, you do your best, and, you know, you don't want to either, like, you don't want to judge them, like, you know, you have the love, you share the love. Big. And that's very big, because a lot of friends, like, you know, they're like, oh, you're judging me, that's why you're cutting. No, it's not that. It's just that, like, you know, I have my own race to finish too, and, you know, I want to do it, you know.
And I'm bringing myself down.
Yeah, I'm bringing myself down. I'm not going anywhere, like, please, like, so I've had that situation, and it's like, you know, I didn't want to cut her off, but like time passed by where it was like, you know, it came to an end, and sad to say, whereas I took my route, she took her route, and, you know, seeing her now is just like, you know,
and again,
it's hard, but
the word says it, you know, like I'm sure that we can think of any Bible verse that has to do with that. But again, it's very important that we don't lose focus on the fact that, yes, even though there's some people that might not be close to, we're still there for them. Because I'm sure, like, if any of those girls were to call you and be like, hey, I need prayer. Hey, I'm
right there. I'll call you.
Yeah, of course. Because at the end of the day, whenever you're faced with that situation, you're not really doing it mainly for them. You're doing it for yourself. And that's something that we're going to, sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow, because we're like, oh, but I don't want to be flawed. You know, like this is a big word in our generation, flawed. But I don't want to be flawed. Like, you don't understand. Like, we've been friends for years. But it's like, okay, but do you care enough about your relationship with God Or do you care about your relationship with this
to
person?
even add on that, I was actually thinking about it, and I'll say this verse because I have two, but there's this one that came to my mind when you were talking on that topic, was that also when you do like pick your friends, or when you do have the friends, just try to analyze the way they are and like the way they speak, because I started to realize more throughout like the years, and this year and last year, is that you have to be very careful in the way they act. And there's a verse, and I feel like everybody knows this verse, and it's Galatians 5:22-23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And I started to realize, to analyze that to other people, because it's like
a checklist.
Yeah, it's like a checklist. It's like, okay, well, like you're not being kind, like you don't have that self-control, like you're not being kind, like
you have no self-control. You're snapping on me all the time.
No, but that's what it's like. It's like to be careful on the way their spirit is, because it's like God didn't tell you, okay, here's the fruit of the Spirit. Pettiness, like no, like no, like he didn't give you that, like
that is not a fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah, like
pettiness is not a fruit of the Spirit.
Shadiness, like
shadiness definitely not on the list.
Like that's not there, and it's like I'm not gonna, if that's not the friendship that I want to have, because I'm not gonna go through that. Like that doesn't uplift me. Like I'm sorry, like God gave me this list in the Word, in the Bible, and I'm gonna check.
That's amazing.
I just got to.
Hey, Amari, I don't know if there's gonna be too much to edit, but we're gonna have to make that little checklist like somewhere in this video, right? But like the checklist to have a friend right there.
It's just to be wise and
Can you share that verse one more time?
I got you. So it's Galatians 5:22-23.
Galatians 5:22-23.
So if you're ever struggling to choose your friends, like you just see if that's their spirit, like if those are their fruits, and if those are their fruits, then
pettiness is definitely not one of them. Is it on the verse?
No, it's not there.
All right. So we're getting more into it, which is something that I was dying to talk about in the talk, because I feel like so many of us, especially us young people, right? We're going through a situation that we're constantly building new friendships. I mean, even if it's at work or if it's here at the church, but I'm constantly meeting new people. And why am I saying that? Because we're all called to preach the gospel. Yeah. And when you preach the gospel, you have to at least be friends with the person. I mean, you're not going to just be like, hey, stranger, Jesus loves you. Hey, all right, you want to do life together? Okay, but you're going to still be a stranger. No, it does not work out like that. Like, ultimately, as a person that's saved, you have to have these friendships with people, because you're eventually going to start to see that, man, I have a lot of people that are really looking at me, which is it's only a good thing. It puts more pressure on you to be able to, be Christ-like, which is hard. But again, at the end of the day, as long as you have that strength. So now that we keep going on the topic, I want to talk about something more specific than this, right? Because we did talk about good relationships. We talk about toxic friendships and stuff like that. But guys, I want to get into this because you guys know how it feels, and I'm sure you guys both have siblings, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So talk to me about family, right? Now, the reason why I want to touch this topic, and it's not for too long, but talk to me about how important it is to go ahead and be a good example, not only for your friends, but for your family, right? And this is why I want to touch this topic a little bit, because I find myself that I have to be such a good example, not only for my friends, but my family knows me even when I do the wrong. Like, guys, how tough is it to go ahead and try and be Christ-like when they know you at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're sleeping, you don't want to talk to nobody, or when they know you when you slam that door at home? It's like, I want to be a testimony so bad, God, I promise, but my family knows me. My family knows my good and my bad. And again, I want to touch that topic, right? Because there's times, and again, like I said, you have siblings. You have a younger brother, correct?
Yes.
That's it. Just
I
a
have
younger brother. Okay,
yeah.
I wanted to make sure. Nichole, you have?
Two older
siblings. Two older siblings. And like, shout out to Nick, by the way. And shout out to Nana. But anyways, the reason why I bring this up, right? Now, Nichole, I want to hear from you first. Talk to me. How important is it to have a good relationship with your family because you want to be a good example of who Christ is?
Bueno.
Which is tough. Again, We might not have it all figured out. Again, I'm not expecting you guys to be like, yes, Alex, I have mastered the class. No. No, I know we have not mastered this, right? But how important it is it to you, which is also very important.
Well, it's really tough, honestly. Like you were saying.
You're being honest.
Really,
it's
yeah,
cool.
it's really
this
tough.
This is the talk, not the fake. We're trying to talk here about what's real.
Well, yeah. So I have a sister, and she is older than me, but like we're still girls, and we still, bump heads.
I wanted to hear. Yo, sisters don't play, man.
No, honestly, we don't.
Okay.
I'm known for my attitude, guys. Okay. Working on it. And my sister is
still
also,
working on it,
still working on it.
We're all still working on it, yes.
So, my sister also has, like, a big attitude. So, we always, like, bump heads. Always. And, like, sometimes, like, she just keep, she is older than me. So, I'm like, why are you arguing with me if you're older than me? Like, leave me alone. Like, why are you going to, like, step down to my level? But I feel like...
Which sucks because,
honestly.
Anyways.
But I feel like just how I'm saying you're older than me, like, and why are you gonna like step down to my level? It comes with Christianity too. You get me? Like, I'm a Christian. We're both Christians, but like I'm in church like all the time. Yeah. And I'm literally coming down to her level to meet her there and argue with her. You get me? So I still am trying to manage that whole, trying to be better. You get me? Yeah. And for her to try to see that I'm actually getting better, because I'm pretty sure if she sees, if my little sister's not giving me attitude, why am I gonna give her attitude? Exactly. So
you hit it right on the nail. Yeah. So, and I'm sure with your brother as well.
Yes, I mean, my brother is very annoying.
I love him. But it's true, guys, and I'm glad that we're able to have these honest conversations, because now you have to be a role model for your brother. And I'm sure your brother is not easy to deal with. He's younger than you, So that's what I'm saying. Like, talk to me a little bit more about that, about being an example not only to your friends but to your younger brother. Yeah. And even when he gets on your nerves, you still have to be a good example.
Yes. Okay. So some of you that know him, that take care of him, he's like a little bundle of joy, but also like a little bundle of just like roughness. Like he will like fight me, and like and sometimes like I stoop down to his level, because it's like I stoop. It's hard because it's like, you're fighting me. Like, how am I not gonna fight you back? Like, he knows I love him, but it's like that tough love. Yeah. But then I also have to register. I'm just like, what? He is younger than me, and I do have to set that example, because I'm not like it's not gonna work out for him. Like if I do this, like he's gonna be like, oh well, it's okay. Like Nina does it. Like, it's fine. Which I don't want him to go down that path. Like, I took that path. And, with years, like, when they say, like, elders are, like, they have more wisdom. And, sometimes, like, when you go through that path, even seeing my parents, when they tell you, like, hey, like, don't do that. Or, don't do this. Like, I'm telling you, like, my life, like, I'm telling you. So it's, like, the same thing with my little brothers. Like, I went down a wrong path, and I don't want him to get even near that path. So, just to have that, like, mindset where it's, like, help me help you. Like, So I think that's it. And also, as well as, like, trying to, even though it's hard, because like you said, your family knows you, and my family, my mom, my dad, and my brother are like the only like Christian household. Like, other than that, like my family like isn't Christian. Like they go on their own way. And we've had problems where it's like they sort of like toss it to the side. They're like But like through the years, and especially through this year, like like I said, setting that testimony, even though it's super hard, later on, like, it'll be repaid. Like, later on, like, there will be a blessing, because I've seen my family, and even my grandpa and my grandma, like, they've never, like, gone to church, nothing. And here they are past Sunday, like, liking the church, And it's something to always, like, have that testimony, because you just never know when that person will finally come, or,
That's true.
That's dope. Okay, and that's awesome, because, again, you have two older siblings. You have a younger. I have both. I have well, no, actually, no. I have two younger as well. What am I saying? My sister and my brother, which me and my sister were like best friends. I don't remember any time other than when we were like little kids. Like, we were like 6 or 7 and fighting over toys. But I don't even know if 6 or 7 you play with toys. But anyways, me and my sister have always had a really good bond. Like, me and my sister have always been that. Like, that's the homie. Like, she's cool. But me and my brother,
shout out to Sandra.
Me and my brother, we have like this thing, right? Obviously, I am not only his older brother, but I'm also his leader, right? So he looks at me as his leader and as his example. But I look at this, and I know you guys can relate. Maybe not, no, Nichole, maybe, you're still maybe there, Nichole, maybe just a little bit. But I look at him, and I look at the way that I was raised, and I sometimes feel like, dude, you didn't work for nothing, bro. Like, dude, you have it easy. Like, you have an
I feel that on
iPhone
a
at
spiritual level.
you have an iPhone at 8 years old. Like, work. Like, and I would see him play video games. Or being like, I'll go in his room. Get up. Let's do something. Like, again, I have to also work on that as well, because I go through a phase, well, not a phase, but I go through some times that I'm like, I'm looking at my older brother and I'm like, dude, I want you to be better. Like, don't be this certain way. Like, don't be comfortable. I know you're privileged, because of course.
Younger
By the,
ones are
but
always
yes, Nichole, maybe you can't relate, or maybe you can.
I'm gonna put myself out there. Yeah,
adding my
exactly.
I'm the baby,
youngest
so
ones
yeah.
always have it the easiest,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So I'm trying to make him a man. You get me? And even my mom laughs at me like, yo, that's not your son. Like, but I legit treat him like my son, not because, you know, I want him to feel lower than me, but because I want him to be the best version of himself, right? And it's hard to want something for somebody that they might not want at the moment. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm very rough with him, but you know, we have like little brother traditions that we do all the time. But again, I wanted to touch that topic because there might be some people listening to us and they're saying, oh yeah, I could be an example to my friends. Easy. That's not a problem. But my family, they've heard me curse them out a couple of times. And it happens. You get me? But at the end of the day, as long as we have a conversation about it and we're saying, hey, listen, we're working towards it. We're accepting it. Like all three of us are doing, it can get better. You get me? I think that's so important, especially people that are our age, that we have siblings. You know, if you're an only child, is that what it's called? Only child or only child? Yeah, if you're only child, hen.
Must be nice.
Must be nice.
I was for 10 years.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we're almost done. Okay, we're almost done. Amari's already giving me the traffic lights, right? But we're almost done. But I always ask my guests this question, and this is like the surprise question, a pop question that I always ask at the end. And I know that it's very far from now because you guys are very young, very far from now. But this is the question. When it's all said and done, when you're like 99, 150, or whatever age you're going to be, or when you pass away, what do you want to be known as? What does your legacy, or what is your legacy going to say about yourself? Yes, I know, very deep question. But let me explain to you why I asked that question. Because when you're a leader, when you're running this race, which is this like you were saying, like this race to, you know, make it to heaven, you have to have a finish line. You have to you want to go down as Jesus. Like Jesus left a legacy. You get me? And us people that are saved, we know the truth and we want to go by the truth, but we also want to go down as passionate about God, or a person that's lovable, or a person that people can count on. Like, there has to be something that at the end of the day, whenever you fail, you can say, but no, I'm working for something bigger than myself. No, it's okay. I know I failed here. I know I fell, but I have to get back up because I have a race to run, because I want to be known as Jesus. Or like, what does your legacy, what do you want to go down as? Because once you know what you want to go down as, you have something to work towards for, right? I think that's the beauty about knowing God, is knowing that, or knowing Jesus, that this guy, Jesus, like, he was legit human. He came down here and left a legacy. And I feel like we're all called to leave a mark in this world. It's in the Bible. We're the salt of the earth, right? We're not just another person in the population. We're people that know the truth, and we're going to evangelize. We're going to preach to people. But the day when it's all said and done, we want to be able to mark this world. We want to be able to make a difference. So, Angelina, I'm going to start with you. Okay, I'm gonna start with you. It could be one word. It could be one word, right? It could be a sentence. It could be a paragraph. Whatever we want to do. But when it's all said and done, Angelina, what do you want to be known as?
Personally, I just want to be known as she did her best. Like, she finished her race. She did what she needed to do for the kingdom of God. Dope. And it does say, you know, all are called, but few are chosen. And I do want to answer that call. You know, I don't want to just leave that call and be like, no. Like, I want to answer every call that Christ has given me to finish that race, because I know that his plans are greater. So I know if I go through that plan and through that transition, that my race will be complete, you know?
Wow. And guys, that's a big one right there, because you there's some people that could go down in history as a lot of things, but to go down as, man, she did her best and she finished her race. It's like I was saying earlier, there was this big artist, I'm not sure if you know about it, but this is big artist, Nipsey Hussle, right? That passed away, and everybody talks about his legacy and how great of a guy he was, and how he started this thing called the marathon, and how, you know, we're gonna continue the race, and that inspires me because, hey, I don't know about his relationship with God. He could have been a devoted Christian. Again, I don't know exactly who he is, but I do know one thing: is his legacy. Yes. You get me? And that's dope. Nichole, talk to me. What do you want to be known as? I know that's a long time from now.
Okay, well, honestly, I really want to be known as, like, a person that was happy doing what she did, like, was, you know, living the Christian life. Because a lot of people think, you know, being a Christian, you're boring. Yeah. No, I want to be like, she was lit, and she was still a Christian.
She was saved. She was lit, and she was saved. Nah, that's real. That's what's up.
So, like, I really want to, like, leave that behind. Like, I don't want people to think, oh, like, being a Christian is boring. Yeah. Being a Christian is, you know, judging people is, you know, to set that example. You get me? Like, I want it to be like, no, like, we help people. You know, we get people to where they have to be in their relationship with God.
That's a wow. No, that's real. Yeah. She's lit and she's saved, but no, that's true though. Exactly. She was happy doing what she was doing. Yeah,
that's literally all I want. Like, I want people to know that, you know, there's two ways. You get me? Yes. There's having a Christian life, but also being happy with the life. You get me? So yeah, that's basically what.
I love that because society wants to paint Christianity as such a religious thing, or
that's true.
Again, I mean, it's like saying, you know, you guys have heard it, and it's not something that we can't talk about. It's the real. If you scroll through social media, if you scroll through everything, there's even memes about pastors. Like, people talking about nonsense about a pastor, but you can't go ahead and say, hey, that girl with blonde hair, I don't know. I heard that girls with blonde hair, they're not that smart. And then you meet a person that's blonde and smart. You're like, whoa, I thought all of you guys were like that. Yeah. No, that's not true. I know plenty of blonde people that are smart. I'm sitting next to one right now. You get what I'm saying? But that's the point. And you get me? And that's cool because I feel like SYA or our generation or our youth here is showing people like, hey, man, we're not these religious, judgmental people. Like, we're people that, yes, we do make mistakes, but we know how to get back up. You get me? And I think that's so cool. Ladies, man, I'm so happy that you guys were able to join me. It is so hard to get guests up in here. I'm telling you. That's why it's a busy ministry. But, guys, for all of those that are listening, we're going to end this way. And the reason why we're going to end this way is because we still have another show we got to do. I know that it's like... we just did a ham show right now, but we're going to go ahead and finish this in the Apple Podcast app. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask us through the Twitter. And Nichole, what's our Twitter? By any chance, do you know?
I'm gonna actually look because I have bad memories. So I'm gonna go look for you guys real quick.
Yo, Amari's about to kill you.
I know your Instagram.
Okay, so shout out to our Instagram, Segadores YA.
And our Twitter, Segadores SY.
You should really put that in your bio.
I'm so glad I put her on the spot because she's about to get killed for not knowing. Okay, so Segadores YA is the Twitter, so they can ask questions. We definitely will be able to answer them, and we're gonna go after this podcast. We're gonna go ahead and do a quick Q&A we're gonna do a quick Q&A, and we might shout you guys out, man. You know, let us know, man.
Like and subscribe.
Yes. Make sure and make sure that you guys follow us. Okay, that's very important.
Follow, guys.
Okay? Now, before we go, Angelina, do you have any shout outs? Anything you gotta tell the people before we end?
Shout out to my mom. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, mom.
Thank you for raising me.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. I don't know. Shout out to SYA, man. You guys are the best.
You want to drop your social just in case?
My social, it's A Angelina Marie G. I'm so sorry. I really forgot it.
A Angelina Marie G. Okay, cool. So people want to ask you questions. People want to say what's up to you. All right, there you go.
I just had I thought when you said social, you were talking about your social security.
No.
That's why
She drops it.
I was
number,
oh my
Nicole.
God.
892.
Your social media, your social, don't give that.
I'm kidding. I really don't know mine, to be honest.
Really thought I was going to ask for social security.
I really thought, that's a joke nowadays. Like, hey, let me get your social. I'm like, okay.
Yo, you joking with some scammers, dog. All right, Nicole, talk to the people. What is your socials? Where can they follow you at?
Okay, so follow me on Instagram, Nichole, without the H, Nicole _30 _
Without the H, y'all.
Without the H, okay?
Without the H, okay?
Without
please.
The H.
Without the H.
Don't get it twisted.
All right, guys. Well, this has been SYA The Talk Podcast. See you guys on the podcast app for the Q&A.
Yeah, boy.
Let's get it.